It is being called part psychological thriller, part twisted coming-of-age story set in Grand Haven. Eve, Ellaway's twin sister, disappeared when they were babies, but Eve has continued to live on at home as two different people to protect her mother. All she wants to do is go on to college and start her own life as herself. It is called The Quiet Unraveling of Eve Ellaway by local YA author Melanie Hooyenga. The book is coming out tomorrow, but we have Melanie here today to talk all about it. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. This is great.
Yeah, so such a fascinating story. How did this come to be?
So this is one of the few books that I actually sat down and brainstormed and tried to come up with an idea. And I had just read a book about twins and thought I'd love to write about twins, but I don't have a twin. So how does that work? And I said, okay, I'll have her be missing. And then kind of from there, I'm like, what's a different twist that other than just a disappeared sister? I had her just be gone, and like you said, her dad raised her as both girls, and we're now with her as an 18-year-old, and what 18 years of that basically psychological abuse does to a person and how she's living her life, and she just wants to get out, like you said.
Yeah. So what kind of research did you do for a book like this? Because you're not a twin, and you take that, and then the psychological abuse that goes with it.
Right. I did a lot of mental health research. I have some friends who are in that industry who are therapists, and I worked a lot with them. I borrowed one of my friends' DSM-4 book, which is the book that identifies all the different kind of mental health maladies a person could have, and she helped me decide if dissociative identity disorder, which is multiple personalities, can that be environmentally caused, or is it genetically? And she said she's of the belief that it can be both. And so I gave both the parents of the character mental health problems, so she's already set up there, and then with the environment that she was raised can lead to this issue that she has going on.
Wow. So, was it hard to write?
I mean, it was, yeah. My other books are a little more lighthearted, and I sometimes call them fluffy, to which my friends say, no, these are good books. They're not fluffy. But this is definitely very dark. My writing process, I slowed down a lot more. I was editing more as I wrote, just to really make sure I was capturing like the trauma she has, and there's a lot more internal thought. She converses with her sister in her head, who she's kind of made up over the years. It's shown in the book in italics, so whenever Jen is speaking her sister, it's in italics. So there's a lot of internal thought, and with young adult books, I always say I like that because there's a lot of plot. It's fast, it's moving, there's not a lot of introspection, but this still does have a lot going on because it's dialogue, but within her head, and you just have to kind of follow along with what's going on there.
Well, I mean, we all have the dialogues in our head,
exactly.
So I guess we can all relate to that, right?
Right.
And that is your genre, your YA. Let's talk about that. You've got a lot, and you say fluffy, but more lighthearted books, lots of series. You got some sports in there. Let's talk about all the choices you have out there.
Yeah, so my first series is contemporary time travel, about a girl who uses sunlight to go back to yesterday, and that is probably most on par with this current release in terms of if people like this, they would probably go to that one first. The Rules series are 3 different sports romance. That the first one I base on the movie Grease, and I call it Grease Meets Mean Girls with downhill skiing.
Okay, I like it.
And but all of them are about strong, independent girls learning to stand up on their own while they fall in love. So that series is more romance forward. And then I have the Campfire series, which is basically groups of teens who go hiking and camping during celestial events. So I sent the first one during the solar eclipse in 2017, and that excitement everyone had of being in the path of totality. And I learned a lot about the solar system during that. I pulled the internet for eclipse jokes that are in there. So I try to keep humor even when they're touching on some heavier topics as well.
I love that. And what made you decide to be in the YA genre? I mean, to really be able to relate to younger people?
Peer pressure. No, not really. It was my first few novels that I wrote that are not published were written for an adult audience but had teenage protagonists. And this was in kind of like 07, 08. And a few of my friends said, hey, you should try writing young adult. And I was like, what? I was in my 30s. Like, what are you talking about? And that was around the time the first Twilight movie was coming out and the 4th book was coming out. So suddenly young adult was just everywhere, and I thought, I'll try this. And then I got the idea for Flickr, the time travel one, and I said, I'll try that as a teenager, and let's try first person present tense while we're at it, which is not something typically I think adult books are written that way, but a lot more in the young adult genre. It's more immediate. You only know what the character is going through, and you can't get that perspective of what you're thinking meanwhile. And I loved it. I said, okay, that's just a clear indication I've never grown up. Because I seem to relate really well with that.
Yeah, maybe I should be reading more YA. I can totally relate.
My father-in-law has read all my books, and my mother-in-law says, I don't understand it. I've never seen him read that way. And I said, you just had to introduce him to young adult books. They're for everyone.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I love this so much, and I love the diversity of what you write about. I think this is fabulous. This book is coming out tomorrow.
Yes.
Get it anywhere people get books?
Yeah, so mostly online. It will be at the bookseller in Grand Haven. I just had my launch there, and the Bookman should have it as well, and I'll eventually work around to try to get to some other local bookstores, but for the most part online. You can find the links to where you can get that on my website, and it'll be everywhere.
And if people want to meet you, there's an opportunity coming up for that too.
Yeah, the Third Coast author event in Grand Haven will be on March 22nd, and hundreds of authors, is what I hear, all throughout downtown. We'll be at the library, the community center. People can have an opportunity to meet with authors and buy their books.
Wonderful. Melanie, thank you so much.
Thank
Congratulations
you so much.
on this latest book. Cannot wait to dive into that. You want to pick it up, you want to learn more about all of her releases, melaniehoo.com. Find her on Threads, Instagram, Facebook, all of the places.
Yep.
We'll be right back.